what about the woman caught in adultery? And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? This they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. Now, some modern versions even take out this passage out of the Bible, and they literally take it out because they either don't understand it, and they want to just pervert the King James Bible. But in John 8, the Pharisees bring a woman caught in adultery to Jesus and ask him if she should be stoned. And Jesus shows the woman individual mercy, and he says, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And look, I think many of us would do the same if it came to our own husbands or wives. If my wife was caught in adultery, God forbid, I wouldn't want her dead. I would want individual mercy. It would, mess up our marriage, but I wouldn't want to see her dead. And that's what, individual mercy is about. But people wrongly assume that now the death penalty itself is done away with under the new covenant. They take this as an excuse to get rid of the death penalty for adultery and just maybe just in general for our entire society. But what people miss is that, again, we're talking about the civil laws, which is good for everybody as a whole, for all of culture versus individual mercy. And what people miss is that this was a trap that was being laid for Jesus by the Pharisees, who wanted to see Jesus dead. They wanted to use every opportunity for his destruction. And here's the main thing that people miss on that. The nation of Israel was overrun by Rome. They were a Roman province. Okay, they didn't have the political authority to institute or to execute criminals. They didn't have the death penalty anymore because Rome was running Israel. They were a Roman province. So they needed Rome's permission to put somebody to death. That's why the Pharisees, when they wanted to kill Jesus, went to Pilate. Okay, to have Pilate and to have Rome execute Jesus. And so since they couldn't just, kill Jesus, they wanted to lay a trap for him. They laid a trap with the woman caught in adultery. They publicly asked Jesus if a woman who was caught in adultery should be stoned. If he answered no, don't stone her, well, then the Jews could not have accepted Jesus as their Messiah, because the Messiah would not have gone against Levitical law, even on the death penalty for adultery. And that again backs up the case that, it's for the civil laws, it hasn't been abolished, because the Messiah would never go against that. Now, if Jesus had answered yes, according to the law, stone her, then Jesus would have been in defiance of Roman law. And they would have hauled off Jesus. The Pharisees would have grabbed Jesus, took him to the Romans, and said that he's subverting Roman law, and he's trying to kill kill an adulterer. And then it would be over. There would be no sacrifice for sins. There would be no, he wouldn't go to the cross. It wasn't his time yet to die. So Jesus answered wisely. He said, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And in this way, Jesus did show individual mercy, which is at God's discretion to do. And isn't that what, the grace and the gospel is ultimately about? Individual mercy for a sinner who deserves death. Okay, we can't forget about God's grace and mercy and compassion in the story. That is in the story as well. But he was extending individual mercy because it was a trap that was laid for him. And it doesn't mean that him doing so as God, who has the right to do so, negates the need for the moral laws to be upheld in society. And that's what most, of our laws are based on in America. It's wrong to kill, it's wrong to steal, it's wrong to rape, but we've just left off certain moral laws because we've slipped as a culture into moral relativism and we've rejected the Bible. Remember also that Leviticus 20:10 says that when a man and woman are caught in adultery, that both the man and the woman are to be brought out and stoned. But where was the man in this scenario when Jesus was asked if the adulteress should be stoned? He wasn't there. It was a trap. And this was another indication that it was a trap. Leviticus 20:10 says, "And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death." But where was the man? John 8:6 even says that the Pharisees had asked Jesus in order to tempt him, that they may have cause to accuse him. So it just says straight out that this was a trap.